Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to our next episode of Masters of Product Live. Our topic for today, well, it's something close to my heart, is AI first product leadership. What actually changes from a leadership perspective as AI starts permeating across the entire product organization? And to help us answer that question in our studio today, we have Gagan Kanjlia. He is or was the CPO at Alkami, SVB, and Capital One. He has over 25 years of experience in leading product teams that drive innovation in banking across multiple verticals, including consumer, SMB, and commercial markets. I'm really excited to talk to him today. As for me, I'm your host, Mustafa Kapadia, and I help product organizations use AI more effectively so that they can ship faster, make better decisions, and ultimately build a great product. You can learn more about me and my services at echo-point.com. Gagan, welcome to the show. I'm glad we're finally doing this.
I'm glad too. Thanks for inviting me, Mustafa, and it's great to be here.
No worries. Listen, you and I have connected online and offline. This is a great topic. It is so timely because it does force us as leaders to change the way we think and behave, right? Given the fact of how the impact is in AI on our product teams and the larger organization in general. If it's okay with you, you know my style. Let's just dive right in.
Let's get in, Mustafa.
So tell me, just from your perspective, what do you see things being different, right? What are you seeing product teams do things differently today compared to what they're doing now with AI, right? Or
And
before AI?
Mustafa, let me just start broadly by saying that this is probably one of the most exciting times I've had as a product manager in my career.
Yeah.
It's because the things that we can do differently are actually core to product management. We
Yes.
can just do them better.
Yeah.
So
It makes
uh,
us more effective.
it's more effective. Like, what do product managers do differently today in the age of AI? Well, they build more intimacy with their customer, with the
Yes.
buyer, and with the user.
Yes.
And that's because we can now ingest more data and make more sense of it, but also because we can do more rapid experimentation. We can
100%.
take more risks. We can do more testing at scale. It's like I've got an army now that works for me and is never, complains about anything. And we can do more testing. And
Yes.
managers thrive on both positive results and negative
And
results.
negative. Yeah. 100%.
And then thirdly, product managers are in the business of always being relevant, which means building proficiency in whatever is next. So the whole we learned to good at learning. If you remember back in the day, we got good at recognizing objects in the world and modeling them in the bits and bytes world, right? We
Yeah.
got good at agile. We got good at building lightning speed prototypes. We got good at using Lovable now. So there's an art of learning itself, which is about
Yes.
building proficiency in whatever is next. And AI actually helps at a meta level, help us get good at learning whatever is next.
100%. I think I agree with you. I think it elevates the craft of product management to what it's supposed to be truly doing is to build products that customers want, right? And so far, we've always been hindered by something or the other. Either it's organizational or it's process, or we're focusing too much on a low value task as opposed to the task that you've been talking about, right? In which it is much more high value and you can experiment and you can prototype and you can be more intimate with your customers. I 100% agree. The question then becomes, Gagan, is what happens next, right? If you kind of zoom out, if that's okay, what do you think the product organization in the future really looks like if all of these things come to fruition? And based on what you said earlier, it's very important that if product managers and product organizers know how to learn these tools effectively, right? What does that look like in the future?
You know, this is at the core of why I'm so excited about this future. A great product organization, and you've seen your share at Google and other places, empower, but they
Yeah.
empower by pushing communication down. But still, a lot of decision making historically has been centralized in the leadership and the executive roles. Now I think what we can do, because AI is this force multiplier, it's immense force multiplier that allows management to actually have control, even though we can decentralize. So now
Yeah,
you can see more decentralization because management should not be able to keep up with the number of experiments that are being run.
it's impossible. It moves so fast, right?
And if you are, as a manager, as an executive, able to keep it, we're just not doing enough of it.
Yes.
So what I am excited about is that the future org is going to feel a bit more decentralized, which is going to be uncomfortable initially for a lot of managers and a lot of executives. But it's all because the guardrails are in place, the rubrics are in place for evaluating success and failure, and to push teams to be accountable for outcomes versus activity and effort.
Yeah.
You'll see the faster connection.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're really talking about the holy grail of what product management is really supposed to be, right? And these are things, well, you struggle with it. I've struggled with it with product teams all the time, is that how do you empower them in such a way that they can make better, faster, smarter decisions without you being in the room?
Right. That's
Right.
right.
And so with AI, you have the ability to do that. And we see that all the time with our clients. But there's an underside to this as well, because you are now, quote unquote, giving up some power and oversight. Right. And I know there's a lot of leaders who struggle with that. A lot of organizations struggle with that. Some PMs struggle with that too, because they're like, well, if I'm supposed to make all these decisions, now suddenly the risk of my decision is much higher.
Yeah.
If
Well,
I
there is
don't.
a power law that I think doesn't change, which is the executive is any day is still accountable
Yeah.
for the ROI, for moving the business forward consistent with the
Yes.
strategic objectives. So that doesn't
Yeah.
change.
No.
Yeah,
But the
and
pressure gets on higher, right? Because
yeah,
now you can move so much faster. So
you
it's a
can move
different type of
faster.
pressure.
That's right. And I think there will need to be new management structures. So the days of having slide-based business reviews
Yeah.
we can change, right? Finally, the idea of getting offline data can change. The idea of measuring on delivery versus the outcome can
Yeah.
change. So, in a way, the executive should not, the product leader should not internalize this as losing power, but actually gaining a new power, which is an
Yeah.
ability to measure teams on what the customer success is versus
Yes.
this internal made up definition that we have often used.
100% agree. 100. You could not have said better, because I do think that it actually provides them with a new ability or capability that they've never had before, right? And the best CPOs that I've seen have embraced it and truly used that to change their entire organization, right? It is remarkable. I will tell you, just based on the clients that we're working on, I see kind of leadership on all across the spectrum, right? Some people do think about it as truly empowerment, and then they're the ones who are pushing it forward, forward, forward. And the others are thinking very much from like, oh my God, I need to like slow this down because I don't have the guardrails. um, and it's kind of interesting to see the industry going through that process, right?
That's right.
And the technology is not stopping, right? Claude just came out with like 16 or 17 new different things that you can do now that you could never do 3 months ago. And that's completely changed the way I use AI now for product management, right? It is fundamentally different. But if it's okay with you, I want to dig in a bit more on the shift, please. How does it shift at every level of the organization? So if you think about it, you have the individual contributor, you have the middle manager, and then you have the CPO and the executive. And each one of those three levels now has to behave, do things differently, right? I would love to get your take on how those things, or how it means to change for those individuals.
This is such a important question because it is directly going to address each persona that we see in the management structure. So
Yeah.
if you start with the individual contributor, I think the key is the Carol Dweck growth mindset. You have to learn by leaning in. And you can no longer be a spectator because that's going to then make you feel like a victim
Yeah.
of circumstances. So, what is the new relevancy factors driving value creating factors for individual contributor? Well, the individual contributor will have to discover that in the context of their organization,
Yeah.
in the context of their product. My only suggestion is be relevant,
Yeah.
dig in, experiment. Don't be afraid because the moment you succumb to the fear, it's over.
100% agree. 100% agree. Um,
So, yeah.
right, please.
Yeah, and I mean it's a bit of a cliche to say learn and grow, but
Yeah.
in this case there are actually more than any time else in my career there are new tools that actually have to be learned and mastered.
Yeah. 100%. It is a new paradigm shift, right? And it's not like, oh, let's just give people AI tools or Copilot or Claude, and then let's just let them be. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. In fact, every client we go to, we do a maturity assessment, and we find out that the way they're using AI is, I call it like they're using a Ferrari as a paperweight,
Mm, yeah, that's a good one.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
So let's talk about the
actually,
man. Yeah.
before we go to the manager, we actually have a comment on LinkedIn by Amandeep. I'm going to put it on the screen, and I think that's a great comment because Amandeep says, like, do you feel like AI will replace the PM sooner rather than later? Right? It's something that that he is, keeps him up at night, and as he's entering a new job as a PM, he's a little bit worried of AI taking a dent in his role. Right? I'm curious to what your thoughts are. And Amandeep, thank you for the question. And for others out there, if you have questions, please, live questions is the best way to get the best out of our guests.
Yeah, this is a great question, Amandeep, and thank you for cutting to the chase. It depends on the definition of a product manager. We'll bring up a slide in just a second.
Yeah.
Let me just tee it up. Uh, when I talk about product manager, I'm talking about a product manager who's more than just in the business of writing user stories and just getting stuff to a point where an engineer can take over. My concept of product management is somebody who can manage the product.
Yeah.
So, Mustafa, if you could bring up
Yes,
this
definitely.
one slide to answer Amandeep's question using a framework. So, product management really is about three competencies. And one of those competencies is now going to feel a bit different because of AI, but the other two don't really change. So there's a business competency around understanding the business, the P&L, the revenue
Yeah.
generation mechanism, the pricing, the packaging, and all of that. And of course, managing a myriad number of stakeholders. That isn't really changing. That's a very human need to be the face of the product internal to your organization and
Yep.
in the market sometimes. That still remains the same. And I don't see bots.
No. And that's where PMs can be more strategic because they can be more aligned to the business and business needs. And there's no way that AI is going to come. I mean, AI can help you do that better,
Yeah.
but it will not take away or
Yeah,
replace.
it is not going to represent your product in front of the CEO. Like
Yeah.
you have to be the face of your product and seek the investment and defend it and so on. The customer, understanding the customer, AI can make it faster as we discussed earlier, but there's a core understanding of which market you play in, why you play in that, why you don't play in an adjacency, understanding the personas. Again, AI can help you synthesize some of it, but you
Right.
are the master of your product's customer. And that isn't really going to change. Bots are not taking over decision making for which customer to impress using what feature. Like you have
Right.
to make some big decisions. Maybe AI can help you synthesize the data a lot more, but it's not like that customer development is going to be an autopilot from here on, right? And
Yes.
the third thing is execution. This is where folks typically would jump to the conclusion that, oh my gosh, AI is going to replace product management. Well, AI is absolutely going to make execution easier. And by the way, execution in my terms is more than just coding and engineering.
Yeah.
It could be supply chain execution, it could be operational execution, and it could be also go to market execution. You only make money because the product manager figured out how to work with sales and marketing, especially in the enterprise SaaS context, in other areas where you need human beings to help drive your product. So that
Right.
execution, including development, still needs a face and a voice and a strategist, and that has to be you as a product manager. Now your job is going to be so much easier because it AI can help you write the user stories. It can help you stitch together, understanding of who to partner with and do account management for your partners. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for the strategy at the center. And while AI is going to help you, it's not
Yeah.
going to replace you.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And I mean, Gagan, I really like you put this slide together because I know when we met a few weeks ago in the coffee shop, you put the doodle down, which is great. I'm like, listen, you need to bring this to the podcast. Amandeep, I'm just going to add to what Gagan said, and I agree with you. I think there's a lot of the jobs that we as PMs in some traditional organizations ignore because we're so focused on the execution, right? That AI now allows us to be more business centric and more customer centric, right? So that's number one. And number two, you know, I've been saying this for quite some time. When I first said it, most people don't believe me, but I see the trends more and more happening. Is that, remember, the way AI is impacting the entire software delivery lifecycle, not just the product delivery lifecycle, is that build is getting easier and easier, cheaper and cheaper, faster and faster. And you know what happens when build gets easier? Deciding what to build gets harder and harder. Because now you can build anything. And when you have so many options, you need a product function out there to help shift through and align business needs and customer needs. Coming back to Gagan's point. And so the best PMs are the ones who are going to gravitate away from execution because they still need to keep an eye on it. Human is always in the center, but they're going to be more aligned with business and customers. And that is something that I don't think so it's going away. And I actually think that as as companies try to build more stuff, they're going to need more empowered and high-performing PMs that will actually help bridge the gap, right? So I personally think that you're actually in a very exciting place because I think the dollars and the funding are moving around in the SDLC, and they have to go towards, right now, all the dollars are concentrated on engineering. Those dollars have to move, right? They're going to move towards PMs and strategy, or they're going to move towards go-to-market and sales. And so you're in a good place.
If I were to just build on what you said, I think the world is going to see more products and more good products out there. And
100%.
that means you need more sophisticated product managers.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Gagan, I know you want to talk about managers, but James has a question too, and I love these questions, so I'm gonna put it up on the screen as well. Let me hide your presentation. I can always bring it up again. So James is, what do you feel are the most effective use cases and tools for AI to enable PDLC? I'm curious, Gagan, what do you think?
So I'll share with you some personal favorites, but these are not endorsements. One of the biggest struggles I used to have when because product managers go to sleep with ideas, they wake up excited about the idea, and you want to execute that day. And one of the challenges was getting customer panels together, building prototypes, and then getting the prototypes in front of the customer panels, and then collecting the feedback. And what I love about tools like Replit and Lovable, I've used both, and I've built apps for my kids so they can, not forget to do their chores in the morning and the evening, so I don't have to yell at them. So I'm becoming a benevolent dad, a digital parent. Is these tools help you go to market with an idea that is pretty robust in its execution, faster, so you can get more real feedback, which is the hypothetical would you, could you kind of questions. You're almost giving them a feel for the real taste of the wine even before the bottle is open. How do you do that?
100%.
Product managers are magicians with these tools, I feel.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the best things I've seen. The other thing I've really used is tools like Glean, which are enterprise scale knowledge management solutions, because I've struggled with understanding a customer issue or the
Yeah.
trend happening in usage. Uh, and I've also been fond of tools, analytical tools like Pendo and Google Analytics. They used
Yeah.
to throw out mounds of data and it would take ages and analysts to understand. And now just asking simple questions around how are my users unhappy, what are they
Yeah.
struggling, and it sort of just delivers the answer to you on a plate. I have to make a request earlier and then wait, with bated breath what the answer would be, and now it's like a real-time interactive dialogue.
Yeah. I think you're right on, and if it's okay, I'm just going to add on to what Gagan said, is that for me, so so allow me to challenge the things. The question becomes not what use cases you can use for AI. You have to start asking what use case I cannot use for AI, because almost every use case that you can think of, I can think of a way that AI can help you. Now, with that being said, I'll also say that just because the simple use case, just because AI can write requirements does not mean that AI is going to get it all the way through, right? You always need to have a human in the loop. So AI can get you 60 to 80% to where you want to be for your final artifact. But that other 20% is all you, right? And so the question then becomes is, what can I not use AI for? Because if you give me a use case, I will tell you the different ways that you can use AI. So that's number one. Number two is, from a tool perspective, 100% agree on Gagan. And by the way, the best way to do is just, even before you get to much of these more mature tools like Glean and Pendo and so on and so forth, just using the chatbots to actually use it effectively is the key, right? You can just use Claude, or you can use ChatGPT, or you can use Gemini, whatever is available, even Copilot, right? And the real difference comes to is how you ask questions is where you're going to see the piece. And then to add on is that if you can do those two things, then you can really get on to what I think is things that we could never do before, which is prototyping, which is what Gagan was talking about, to get to something that you can actually show customers. Or one of my favorite is building synthetic users or synthetic digital proxies of your users, putting them into an AI and having conversations, right? So that allows you to see around the corner. You can do red team. You can take a PRD or a document and say, you know what, change this because I'm about to present to engineering versus I'm about to present to the CFO, and AI can do that. So those are new capabilities that we never had before, right? But you have to go to step one and step two before you get to step three. So I hope that helps, James. Sorry, Gagan, I love these questions. And by the way, if there's more questions, please let people ask. But I want to continue down the thought that you started is, what is the impact on the managers?
So to understand that, I want to start with what is the impact on the executive, because the
Yes.
manager acts as a translation layer from the
Yeah.
executive, and of course they provide a management capability, right? In context of, so what happens now, I think, is what happens when any big change hits an organization. The executive has the if there's a product executive today, they have to be more authentic about where they are in this journey themselves. They have to sell their own vulnerability, their own conviction around this change, and they have to admit that they don't have all the answers, so they
Yeah.
need the
Which is hard for
organization,
executives.
right?
Right.
But we also need to share a product vision. That's on the
Yeah.
executive. We share a vision for where they see the product going. Is it more AI is going to help drive internal change, or is it actually going to be embedded in the product as part of the value proposition? Is it going to give us an unlevel playing field? Does it change pricing and packaging? Does it change the value chain and how the rent seeking is happening?
Right.
What changes? The executive has to frame the new vision for the product and the strategy, and very importantly, define a change management curve that the organization has to go on,
Right.
has to define the contours of, this is where we are, this is where we have to go to. So they have to be the architect of this journey.
Yeah.
and the manager has to do the translation of all of that to the individual contributor.
Yeah.
So they have to be the coach and the trainer to a bigger degree than they ever probably have been,
Yeah.
because that's what happens in change. The ICs have to learn from the trainer, training right next to them, but also the coach overseeing what they're doing,
Yeah.
empowering them, setting new cultural tenets. So we used to talk about the Agile Manifesto and how a key aspect is servant leadership.
Yeah.
Well, servant leadership really now gets amped up with this thing, and managers
100%.
to embody that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's, I think that managers, I think, have a harder job of translating that new vision, that new sense of journey definition, new cultural tenets. They
Yeah.
have to embody and then translate, and they have to explore their own vulnerabilities
Yes.
and challenges.
In many ways, they have to be a much more super user of AI so they can
Hmm.
translate it effectively, right? I don't, you know, this is a good, um, listen, Gagan, I know you talk to a lot of CPOs, and it's just like me. One of the things, and I wonder if you've seen this, or maybe it's just because of the clientele that we serve. One of the things that I've noticed is that sometimes managers, well, even CPOs and executives, have a hard time defining what good looks like. And because they can't tell what good looks like, it's a hard time for managers to translate that and then for individuals to execute on it. You know, James' question is a perfect one, right? Like, what can I use it for? And what should I be using? What tools should I be using? Right? That vision has to come all the way from the top, right? Or even Amandeep's question is really about, okay, how do I, yes, I'm going to change the way I work, but how is it going to impact me personally? It's a very emotion-based, very, very real question. And I think those things have to come from the top down.
I see it in spades, Mustafa, and often I see sometimes practice around hedging. Like you're
Yeah.
hedging, and suddenly when you hedge too much as a leader, your message is so
Yeah.
mixed. It's like all of the above is the
You
answer.
lose the context. Yeah.
Yeah, but in this fog of change, having some clarity and putting some guardrails is actually essential. The answer from a
Yes.
leader cannot be do whatever you want, figure out things. You have to
No.
put some guardrails, some direction.
Yeah.
You have to test some hypothesis and be willing to be wrong. But I would rather, as a leader, be testing my hypothesis and state what they are and be wrong than just give the answer is all of the above,
Yeah.
which doesn't provide any direction really when the organization is struggling with change.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's better to be directionally correct than to try to hedge too much, because then your team loses the plot, right? And I've seen that in organizations in which they either try to be, they say use AI, use it for as much as you want, and then as in the same breath they say, but be careful how you use it, right? We have to worry about risk, and we have to worry about security and so on. And by the way, those are all good concerns, but if you can provide clear guardrails, and this goes back to what good looks like, I think it's very hard for that to translate to real action on the team. And then in reality, translate to all the things you just talked about in the beginning about the impact on product management and what it can drive in the organization, right? This is good. Listen, I knew this was going to happen. We're almost going to run out of time. So I'm going to try to see if I can squeeze in 2 more questions. We've talked a lot about change, right? I want to take the opposite now. Tell me what doesn't change. And I know you've alluded to some of this already, but I'm curious, in your opinion, with all of these changes happening, there are a lot of core things that does not change, right? I'm curious what your take is.
Yeah, Mustafa, this is such a big question because one of my worries with such a big dramatic change is people lose the plot on the fundamentals because they think everything is changing. Actually, put it in perspective. When you look at, say, 100% of all the product management
Yeah,
craft, a lot of the fundamentals are actually not going to change, in my opinion. And that's maybe a bold thing to say at the beginning of a massive transformation that we all haven't even fully
yeah,
uncovered yet.
Oh no,
But
we're in the first innings.
that's right, the first innings. But there is a deep under proficiency around your market that you play in,
Yeah,
the business model that you have, how your company makes money. If you haven't read a 10K, go read your 10K. Go read the financial uh, details of how your product makes money. Connect the dots, because that is not changing. That's the reality that your CFO lives. That's the reality that your execution team lives. So you just have to
yeah,
get good at understanding the market. The market is changing, so get good at recognizing changing patterns. That fundamental understanding of the business, therefore, isn't gonna shift suddenly because of AI. If
yeah,
anything, it becomes more important.
yes. Yeah,
Secondly,
your soft skills
yeah,
take on a whole new perspective,
that's right.
right? I mean, AI can do a lot of synthesis and analysis for you, but understanding what your customers truly want at a much more deeper and gut level, it's never going to be able to do that,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
Understanding and spending time with your CPOs or CFOs and CMOs and trying to say, okay, what exactly is going to move the needle? There's no amount of data out there that is somewhere there that AI can crunch and analyze to be able to give you that, right? So to me, I 100% agree. I think this is why I like that 3 diagram so much, is because we right now spend too much time on execution and not enough on the other bubbles. And now those other bubbles become much more important. You still have to spend some time on execution because you still have to manage AI to get you there.
Well,
But
and
the
I would
other,
say the concept of excellence will evolve.
yeah,
Delivery excellence. So what you're delivering, what you're executing on, there'll be new ways to measure whether you're really good at it as a product manager.
yes,
Right? Used to be the day that product managers were good at writing user stories and then testing and doing UAT and signing off. Now,
yes,
very tactical way to now. If suppose bots can do some of that, you have the opportunity to move up skill and focus on the fundamental question, which is: Are you delivering predictability? Are you
yeah,
creating value? And are you delivering with a whole bunch of quality attributes built
I
into it?
agree. Exactly. Are you delivering a PRD or are you delivering an impact?
That's right. That's
Right?
well said.
And
Well
there's a
said.
huge difference between the two,
Huge difference.
right?
And
One is pushing paper,
yeah,
unfortunately. The other one is changing the business. You still have to push paper, but the context changes, right?
and for any product manager who said, look, I never had time. I'm so involved in the delivery machinery that I had no time to focus on the bigger picture, on how the business makes money, how to deliver the excellence, or even how to go to market. I never quite sat down, took a sales call,
Yeah,
a support call. Well, now hopefully you can do all of that because you have more time
100%.
and you have
100%.
bots who do some of the menial stuff for you, and now you can actually be the connector of the dots in ways that the
Yeah,
organization really needs
yeah,
more of. So hallelujah, like this is the age
yeah.
of the true end-to-end product manager.
Yeah, and to give our audiences some perspective, I mean, listen, if you just know how to use AI well, I promise you, and we see this with all our clients and they don't believe it first, you can minimum save 10 hours per week per PM. And by the way, that is not the ceiling, that is the floor, right? And it just goes up from there. But those 10 hours, coming back to Gagan, your point, you can spend those 10 hours being more strategic, spending more time with the customer, spending more time with the business, doing all the things that is actually going to make you a much more effective and, more importantly, valuable PM. That's how you differentiate yourself from the rest, right?
That's right.
That's where the value is. And so the
Mhm.
more value you bring in from that perspective, I think we need more of that, not less. We'll
Well,
always need PMs that bring more value and have an impact. But now it becomes even more important. And given what's happening in the rest of the software delivery lifecycle, it's like you have multiple factors working in your favor, right? Um, Gagan, one last question, and I know I knew this was going to happen. We'll always go over time. I actually want to change the subject a bit, right? And this is something that you shared with me when we met last time, is that I know you're very passionate about product. And it clearly, listen, you and I can talk about this till the cows come home. But you also have two other passions and two impactful projects that you're running right now. Can you share more about that, please?
Yeah, Mustafa, what I have felt, and this has been like rearing up like a raging river in me, is like this deep feeling that as much as our craft is going to change or not change, there's one sector in the economy that's going to benefit immensely from this new age of
Yeah.
product management, and that's the nonprofit sector. Because the
Mm,
nonprofit sector is starved of capital, and capital is the one currency that is scarce, and
yes.
you need a lot of to make a good product of it. And why is that? Because to your point earlier, engineering is where all the dollars are.
Yes.
So now, if nonprofits don't have to raise a lot of capital, which they don't have really on any good day, then could they come up with new business models? Could they come up with new ideas and execute them and build a way to develop a finer connection and a deeper connection between donors, stakeholders, and the constituency that they're actually impacting and benefiting?
Yeah. 100%.
Right. So this is the age of the unlock, I think, for the nonprofit
Yeah.
sector in terms of like product management. So if you have a passion for giving in some form, then guess what? The good news is you can actually productize that passion
Yes.
without a lot of capital.
Yeah. And I mean, and we've talked about this, there's synergy in that one too, between how, you know, if you boil product management down to something, it's just critical thinking skills, right? It is a problem solving skill. And
Yes,
so you can take that and the passion for nonprofit and you mix it together, and now you have something very potent, powerful,
that's right.
right?
And then the second thing, which is a closely related thing, is like if you look at our school curriculums, and I've got a high school, I've got elementary school, so it's very dear to you. I know you've got your kids going through various stages of the school
Yes,
as
trust
well,
me, we're right there.
right? And now I understand why a lot of America is asking the question like, hey, is it worth taking on the student debt for 30 years to send my kid to K-12 plus 4 plus 2 sometimes schooling
Yeah.
system, right? And I have a deep passion for finding a way to put product management as a more core curricula. The idea of entrepreneurship, the idea of building out of nothing,
Yeah.
ideating business models.
Yeah.
When is a 12th grader going to learn that? Like when they're 25 years old, or could they learn
Yes.
it
Yeah.
when they're
And by
learning?
then it's too late,
Yes,
right?
it's
Like
too.
we, as much as I love the U.S. education system, I think we in our system do a very good job of killing the entrepreneur that is in every kid who starts in kindergarten, because they're imaginative, they're inventive, they can see things that you just can't see, and we seem to do a very good job of getting rid of that. But we have an opportunity to bring that back in, right? Gagan, I feel like there's got to be a way we can take all three things of what you've talked about and combine it into another Venn diagram. Somewhere in the middle, there's something. And by the way, you already have a fan out there. So, Rajiv, thank you for that. There you go. You're definitely, Gagan, you're definitely connecting with people. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
But
As
there's got to be a way that we can bring all three things together, right?
I think we can. I think as I was saying earlier, I think this is the age of innovation, like finally being unleashed, because you
Yes.
don't need a lot of money and an army of engineers to do something with your skills that you've been developing over years. So trust yourself, take a bet on yourself, get out there, don't ask for permission, and
Yeah.
break the world.
Yeah. The don't ask for permission, I cannot stress enough. If you're gonna do something, just do it. And by the way, just doing it is gonna open up new paths that you had never thought about, right? It's gonna open up new directions that were just brand new. I mean, trust me, the the consultancy and the business that I have came out of a side project that I had.
Hmm.
I never thought about it, but this is my, and I love what I'm doing. Um, on that note, Gagan, we're out of time. um, I would love for you to come back, especially talk about the other two passions of yours and how you've been able to use potentially critical thinking skills and basic first principle product skills to actually help solve it. I know you and I have to need to connect on a bunch of things, but it would be great to have you back when you get a chance.
It'll be a pleasure and an honor to be back, Mustafa. I love what you're doing. You're spreading the gospel and you're spreading the knowledge and connecting people. So that's awesome, and I'd love to be back and
This is
talk
good.
further.
Thank you. This is I love what I do and enjoy what I do. I can talk about this till the cows come home. I don't think I even need an audience. I can talk about product management and AI. You can shut the lights, you can close the doors, and you come back the next day, I'll still be talking about it. Awesome. Thank you very much, Gagan. And by the way, thanks for the questions we got from LinkedIn too. Those are always fun because it makes it,
Yeah, great question.
much more dynamic, right? All right. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye for
everyone.
now.